Welcome, everybody. This is Francisco Sirvent here from Keystone Law Firm. Today, we've got a fun topic because this is just a little different than what we always do. We do a lot of education about the fundamentals of estate planning and how to take care of the basics. I'm still going to hit on some of that today, but today we're going to be going I can't say we're going to be going up to the next level. What are these advanced asset protection strategies? And I use the Rockefellers as an example because traditionally, historically, these strategies were only available to people who were uber multi-hundreds and hundreds of millionaires, but with a lot of the legal changes that have happened, the streamlining of the legal system, and just the better development of teaching the legal industry how these strategies work, they're now available to everybody. So that's what we're going to dig in on today, is these 4 advanced asset protection strategies. Now, not everybody here on today's web class knows me personally, so thank you for coming. Good job. I'm really excited that you're here. You are going to give an hour of yourself to learn and get educated about this. I truly promise to honor that, because there's nothing more valuable to any of us than our time. The few seconds that just went by, we will never get back. And so I promise I'm committed to making this hour valuable for you. This all started for me beyond just the basic estate planning when this wasn't 7 degrees of separation. It was only either 1 degree or 2 degrees. I'm not sure how you count it, but a very close friend of mine, his very close friend right here in Phoenix, this was a number of years ago, was picking somebody up at Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport. And if you know anything about the Sky Harbor Airport, you know that pulling in and out and dropping people off and picking them up is kind of like a meat grinder. And he was picking somebody up, I think, or was they dropping off? I don't know. But he was in that shuffle of trying to get up to the curb and pulled up right behind a car, went to throw it in park, and instead of throwing it in park and stepping on the brakes, his foot slipped and he stepped on the gas. And because these cars are all packed in there, one on top of the other, you know exactly what happened. He just, bam, right into the car in front of him, which wouldn't have been as devastating of a consequence if there wasn't a man standing behind his car loading or unloading his luggage, and he pinned his legs and crushed his legs. The guy would never walk again. Complete accident, total freak accident. And what do? You throw your hands up and you say, "I'm sorry, I have no excuse. I did that to you." And what was worse was this guy whose legs he crushed had a family who was dependent on him financially, and he was a 30-something-year-old cardiovascular surgeon with a long, bright career ahead of him that was instantly destroyed. That type of freak accident can happen to anyone, and we're going to talk about how to protect yourself from being devastated financially just because of a pure accident. This friend who caused the accident, he's married, he has his own kids, and as financially damaging as that would be, he had to live with that. He has to live with that for the rest of his life. And but thank God he actually had an asset protection plan in place before this. Not because he knew that was going to happen. Oh my gosh, no, none of us plan on that. None of us would wish that on anybody. But just because he thought at the time when he put it in place it would be prudent, it would be smart, he had enough of a little nest egg that he just wanted to protect his kids just in case, and he put it in place, and it let him resolve that devastating accident, to make that other guy who got hurt, to make him satisfied, and to make sure he could go home and still have a future for his family. That's what we're going to talk about today. So my goal for you guys today is to help really two kinds of people. So if you're here and you've got this hour blocked off, you probably fall into one of two categories. You've never have really done anything about asset protection before, and you're like, this is interesting, the Rockefellers. Let's see what this is all about. And I'm going to give you some very foundational concepts so that you can walk out of here feeling actually pretty educated about this stuff. You'll be able to go talk at your next party, if we can ever get into some parties with all this COVID shutdown. But next party you go to, you'll feel pretty educated about this. And then the second type of person, if you're here, you've done some of this, you understand this stuff, you maybe are wondering if what you've done is right, and you're thinking maybe I need another level of this. You're going to walk away knowing what some of those next level strategies are and how to double check that what you've done is still good. So that's what my goal is for you here, because it's not just the Rockefellers who can do this now, right? 2020, literally everybody needs to be looking at asset protection. This is a picture of their family from all those decades ago, and their family, though their Standard Oil was taken apart and dismantled by the federal government as a monopoly and broken up into all these different public companies, their family, generations later, is still managing that wealth and is still managing it like a business. Have there been disputes? Yeah. Have there been disagreements? Have there been relationships that have fallen out? Yes. But they've learned a lot of things about how to manage it and make the best kinds of decisions that are available. And we're going to learn from that. We're going to take that, we're going to distill it down to how it applies to us normal people who don't have Standard Oil in our back pocket. All right, I'm not going to dig into all the techniques yet. So I just want to make sure you guys know the only way for you to guarantee that you won't end up broke and dependent on your adult children in your oldest years is to take care of these 4 layers of asset protection that we're going to talk about. And I honestly believe, I have looked at so many plans done by other firms, by other attorneys, that clients bring us that have fallen apart and not worked. We have reviewed case studies. We've reviewed case law decisions where the asset protection fell apart. We are given education and articles about families that where it did work and it was successful. That I truly believe, second, that the only way to get these 4 layers of asset protection, get them in place right now, and for them to continue to work throughout the years and years and years of your life and your children and their children, is through our TrustCare program. We've got an amazing set of services that deliver that. So I'm going to show you guys how to do that and how it works. So we'll talk about that here in this whole workshop, this whole web class. Now, what I can't do, the State Bar requires me to go through this really lovely disclaimer. We can't do legal advice. So what I talk about and share with you today is not legal advice for your specific situation. This is general information of an educational nature. I really want you to walk away going, hey, I learned this and that, and great. That's what I want. If you choose you need to do something about this for your family, I'll also give you an opportunity to do that for sure. Now, we won't be answering any private questions here. This is a public setting. There's lots of people on this web class. I used to do that. Not only is the technology just a little bit goofy, but it is a little bit tough for me to get your question answered. I usually have to draw out some more information, and I don't want you to do that in a public setting, so I'll explain how we do that in a private setting. If you're already a client of ours, I know some of you are, awesome, that's fantastic. If you have specific questions about this, what you're going to do is schedule a TrustCare review, phone call, video call, or appointment in the office, and any one of our attorneys can dig in and figure out how this applies to you, what you might need, what you don't need, and how you might implement it in your family, all right? I also have to just say, this is an introduction to asset protection. The courses and training that I've been through on these are weeks long. They are 1,000 hours of training and lots of experience. Obviously, we're not going to get into that kind of depth. I'm going to hit the biggest, most important parts of the 4 layers of asset protection so that you can see and basically answer the question at the end of this hour of, do I need to do something or not? That's really what I hope you walk away from. And if you say, nah, I'm good, then you can check this off the box and you can rest and be at peace. If you get to the end of this and you're going, wow, I need to do something, then you know what you need to do. Take a step forward. Now, for those of you that don't know me, I will always try to find some way to brag about my family. This is my wife, Nicole, my 4 kids. The 2 oldest are actually twins, Gabriel and Isabella. The middle child, Sophia, with the biggest, beautiful smile there, and Zachary, the little guy. This is why I do what I do. This is why we do what we do in my firm, because we care about helping families live out your values and take care of those you love, because what I hear over and over again is that you want your family to know you cared about them and that you took care of this, that you wanted it to be simple for them. You didn't want to give them a nightmare. You didn't want it to be a nightmare. And that's why we do what we do. Our firm, we're consistently top ranked in Arizona. Last year we were the fastest growing law firm in Arizona. Among all practice areas, our firm has protected over $800 million of our clients' assets, and a 2-time author. I just have so much fun doing this. I hope you stick around to the end because we've got a lot of good stuff packed in here today. All right, here's where I would start taking notes. 4 asset protection strategies. Number 1, we're going to cover what are the top risks to your financial security. Now, most of my clients, most of Keystone Law Firm's clients, most of the people that we talk to, the families that we work with, the families that we educate in the community, they are in that empty nester or retirement phase of life. So we break it down into 5 phases. First is the 18-year-old brand new adulthood. Then it's newlyweds and young families. Then 3rd, it's the empty nesters. Then 4th, it's the retirees. And then 5th, there's that legacy and care stage. That's where, we're in our late 70s, 80s, 90s. We even have some clients in their hundreds. And they're not really worried about financial security anymore because, they've been retired long enough and they know how things are playing out, and it looks pretty standard. So most of our clients, though, are in that empty nester and retirement stage of life. And so I'm going to look and talk mostly about the risks that are relevant to those 2 stages. Now, they can also be relevant to the other stages, but those are the stages I'm going to focus on. Second, how are these asset protection strategies put in place? I'm going to spend as much time as I can in that section because there's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 strategies that I want to go over. We're going to be able to touch on each of them very briefly, but that's where I'm going to spend most of my time. And then 3rd is where the heck should a family start if you know, you need to do something about this? Because there's, like I just said, there's 21 strategies I'm going to cover. So let's just dig right in. What are the top risks to your family's wealth? This one, I mean, for me, this is just the one that applies to everybody. Last time I found statistics on this from Arizona Department of Transportation, there are literally 3 people every day in Arizona that die in a car accident. 3 people every day. My wife, she's about, you know, I'm working from home. She's telling me, I'm going to go get, you know, go to the grocery store. I'm going to go run some errands. How many times do we freak out when somebody says, I'm going to go drive my car down the road? We don't. We just, you know, we take it for granted that we're going to come home. Well, you know, I don't want to freak out. I don't want to freak you out. It's not my goal. My goal is that we understand this stuff happens in an instant when we do not plan for it, when we do not expect it. This is the kind of thing that our firm gets these phone calls every single day. You know, my husband was just killed in a car accident. What do I do? We're financially devastated. He didn't have life insurance. We're just mountains of debt. What do we do? Or, I mean, you know, guys, this is real. Arizona's car accident rate is not something to be taken lightly. It is bad. And so we're going to talk about that. Divorce. Holy moly, the divorce rate is high. And you know, with this pandemic and the shutdown, everybody that I talk to about this, every family law divorce attorney, all of the family therapists, the counselors out there, everybody who's involved in family relationships is saying there's more stress right now among those that already were experiencing stress. There's actually more family abuse and domestic violence. There's more problems in the families now than there ever were. And we're going to see a massive increase, if I had to make a prediction, in the divorce rate in the coming months and years. You know, right now I think the numbers bounce around 50%. I just have to predict that that's going to go up. And the only reason that that might not go up is maybe because people aren't getting married, which is a whole nother societal issue. But it's a big financial risk. Anytime someone goes through a divorce, there's going to be devastation. And if it's your kids, if it's your adult children, or if it's yourself, there are asset protection strategies that can make it so it's not such a financial disaster. Lawsuits. Oh my gosh. As I was preparing for today, I was looking up just in Arizona how many new lawsuits were filed in 1 year. The last year they have numbers on was 2018. I had no idea. 51,267 lawsuits were filed in 2018, just here in Arizona, in our tiny little state of Arizona. We're not talking about California or Florida or New York, some of the highest population states in the world. No, we're talking about Arizona. 51,000 civil cases filed in 2018. Guys, if you watch, if you're not living with your head in the sand, if you're not living under a rock, you know people file lawsuits. It can happen to anybody. Anybody can get sued, whether it's legitimate or not, and and then you're stuck. You literally are stuck. You have to defend yourself. The court will not defend you, period. You have to defend yourself. And you're basically in that mess until you extricate yourself. This was one of the silliest pictures I could find to describe a lawsuit. A machine which you go into as a pig and come out of as a sausage. I don't know that that's even true, because I think sausages are tastier than pigs. But it's just a nightmare. If you've ever been through a lawsuit of any kind, it is not something you go through just for fun. And then there's just the medical accidents, the medical events, the emergencies that happen. And and just completely change somebody's life. There are the sort of urgent kind, the immediate kind, the critical kind. There's those ones, where it's a heart attack, it's a stroke, and boom, something happened, and it's forever more going to be different. Or it just goes straight to somebody dying. And, those medical things, we cannot predict it. I was just meeting with a gal a couple days ago who was telling me about her sister-in-law, her brother's wife, 48 years old, and just, no reason, no indicators, healthy lady, just dropped over dead of a heart attack. Nothing, no indicators, no time to say goodbye. Just up one day and down the next. And I turned 40 last year. I'm going to turn 41 here in about a month. And it's really, this is the first decade that I really feel the, oh my gosh, I need to start making a difference, because it happens before you know it, before you have a warning. And we can't let that medical event also be a financially crushing event on our family, on those that we love, that we said we were taking care of. We can't. We have to protect them. We have to make sure they knew we did everything we could to protect them. Because if the medical emergency happens, and they're also financially crushed, and then they learn, gosh, you didn't do what you could have done, it's going to be even worse. Now, the world that I live in every day is probate. We live in probate every day, every day, every day. Most of the probate problems we deal with are probate while somebody's alive. We do deal with probate after people have passed away, and that's a big, giant mess. But probate while somebody's alive is a lifelong mess. And again, I looked up these specific numbers. The court tracks these. It's really, they got statistics on everything. In 2018, just in Maricopa County, just here, Maricopa County, Phoenix, okay? Not Tucson, not Flagstaff, not Yuma, just Maricopa County. 11,174 new probate cases filed. 11,000 filed brand new cases in 2018. Holy crap. And having gone through with, I don't even know, hundreds of families who are going through that, it is a gut-wrenching, expensive nightmare during somebody's most vulnerable days in their life. It sucks. And I can't not tell you about that one today, because it's a huge financial risk if you're in that retirement, and especially if you're in that legacy and care stage. Those probates, they can cost you $70,000 to set up, $10,000, $20,000 a year, and then you're probably paying out the nose in long-term care, assisted living every single year. These things can financially crush someone. And my worst case scenario last year was a gal who was taking care of her dad, and her dad's nursing home bill was $21,000 a month. 21. It's the most expensive I'd ever heard of. He's literally going to spend $250,000 a year paying rent so that he could be alive, basically, so that he could be safe. Holy cow. Holy cow. All right, so those are the biggest financial risks that I see day in and day out, and that I ask, are you protected? Have you done something about this? What's your family going to do if something like this happens? Right now, what are they going to do? Tell yourself, are they just going to throw their hands up and go, wow, Mom or Dad, wow, you really screwed yourself? Or are they going to say, oh my gosh, Mom, Dad, thank you. This is so hard to to deal with, but I'm so glad the finances are squared away, and we can then make the best decisions for you, not based on what's the cheapest place we can find or what's the cheapest thing we can do, but based on this is how we want to take care of it. This is how we want to make sure you're taken care of. What's your family going to do? Okay, so this is where we dig in. How are these asset protection strategies put in place? There are 4 major layers of asset protection, okay? All of them have to start with you having a basic estate plan in place, period, okay? Our firm, we've had people call. We've had clients who say, I just did my revocable living trust with an attorney down the road, and they referred us to you for the big picture asset protection plan. Well, guess what? That's lovely and that's cute, but we're going to redo that too. Or people come to us and they just want to implement these big fancy new structures and they don't want to take care of the basics. Guys, do you go to your doctor and say, hey doc, I need my heart, I need a bypass. Doctor says you need bypass surgery, and you say, great doctor, first thing I want to do, I want you to do the bypass. Then we can do the anesthesia. No, you follow the doctor's advice. The doctor says, here's how we do it. First, we put on our pants. Then we put on our shoes. If I try to put shoes on first, it's going to be impossible or really uncomfortable to put your pants on. So, yes, we start everything with a basic living trust plan. Now, if you don't know what that is, I've got prior web classes that teach all of that, go into it in detail. Get onto one of those and watch that. Basically, it takes the place of your will. It takes the place of your power of attorney. It covers everything. The way we do it, we make it very easy to set up and keep it up to date, because if it's not kept up to date, it doesn't work. So there you go. That's the basics. Now we're going to dig into the 4 strategies. The first layer, or I can't say the first, one of the layers is built on a whole variety of different kinds of trusts, additional kinds of trusts, okay? The living trust is the basic foundational thing that everybody has to have, okay? Here is a list of I'd say the most common, is that 10 or 11 advanced asset protection trusts that we deal with, okay? And in no particular order: dynasty trust, spousal, lifetime, charitable, beneficiary, retirement, life insurance, grantor, defective, domestic asset protection trust, and foreign asset protection trust are the last 2. Let me cover as many of these as I can. And I might jump around a little bit because I think as far as relevance, you guys might appreciate some of these more than the others. I want to knock out the last 2 real quick: foreign asset protection trust and domestic asset protection trusts. These, just so you know, these start at about a cost of about $25,000 to set up, and then there's going to be a few $1,000s a year in management expenses that are going to be incurred. So whether that's worth it or not usually means there's at least $500,000 going into one of those to be asset protected. Those are set up with a separate trustee. You're not the trustee anymore. They're set up usually in another jurisdiction. So the domestic ones would be set up in another state a lot of times, like Wyoming or Nevada. We have those are some really strong states. The foreign one is going to be set up with a trustee in a foreign country, okay, like the Virgin Islands or something, right? Because that's a foreign jurisdiction. A creditor here in the United States has a very, very, very hard time getting to it. So that's how those work. You say, hey, look, I don't want this chunk of money, $500,000, $5 million, $50 million, whatever it is. I don't want this chunk of money. I earned it. I got some stock option buyouts. I inherited it. Whatever. I've got this chunk of money, and I don't ever want to lose it on accident, right? If I'm that guy at the airport and I crush somebody's legs, I don't want to get sued for $10 million and lose this. Okay. You take that chunk of money, you put it into one of these trusts, okay? It's irrevocable, it's a separate trustee, it pays a very different type of tax schedule, it has a lot of different tax consequences, but it is always your money. It's always there to take care of you and pay your bills, but nobody can force the trustee to pay money out. Doesn't matter if you get a gigantic judgment against you for whatever, the trustee is just going to kind of go, oh, that sucks for you, but you know what? I'm not you, and I didn't do that, and I'm restricted by the rules of this very special type of trust. That's what those are. When people talk a lot about asset protection, or you hear about that in the news, or you hear about, you know, the Kennedys and these sort of classic families that have built up significant wealth, talking about asset protection, that's a very common thing that will be done. Nowadays, it's available to anybody. It's available to somebody. Generally speaking, the minimum investment there is going to be $500,000, but anybody can do it now. The way, you know, because we have so much electronic communication, we have so much more information about how to build that relationship with that foreign trustee or that trustee in Nevada or Wyoming or whatever. It's just so much easier to set up and manage. So it's available to a lot more people now. So that's what those are. Now, kind of moving back up to the top, a dynasty trust. This is something that is very common, actually, in our practice. We do a lot of these. We don't call them dynasty trusts in our practice, but the way a dynasty trust works, okay, there's a lot of different ways they can work, but the big picture is you as the trust maker, you're the person setting this up, right, for your family. You're saying, all right, either, and you can do it in a couple different ways, either I've got this chunk of money that I don't necessarily need, and I want to make sure it's protected now from creditors and potential creditors and from any liability, and I want to make sure this thing is protected forever. For my descendants, for my family. Wow, okay, cool. So you can either make that and set it up right now while you're alive, and it goes right in there, poof, and it starts to be operated under the rules that you create, or you can say, hey, at my death, I'm going to peel off a part of the inheritance and stick it in this thing over there. Generally speaking, a dynasty trust has two characteristics. It is for a group of people, like your descendants, okay, which does not include the in-laws, by the way. It's generally speaking for a group of people, and then two, it avoids the estate tax on future generations, which is kind of an important thing with these plans that are going to go on for a long time. Here's why. If you, I don't think I have a spreadsheet or a demonstration of that. Let me see if I can just do a little really bad, ugly drawing. So let's see. Yeah, I've got a pen here somewhere. Yeah, look at that. So imagine this. I'm just going to kind of use. Oh, my pen's gone. Where's my pen? Pen. Okay. Here's our starting point, and here's time going that way. We've run this calculation so many times, people, and it's just amazing, right? If we say, look, let's get I don't know what, like let's start with $100,000. That's a really ugly $100,000. And generally, let's just kind of imagine that starts at your, let's say you decide to fund that at your death, okay? $100,000, and you say, you know what, I want to put that into this magic machine that goes forever. What's really cool is with a very modest investment return, a lot of people are, you know, talking about long-term investments being 8, 9, 10, 11, 12% return if it's nice, broadly diversified, and things like that. Yes, you can get more aggressive and more risky and with higher potential returns, or it can be lower. But for the most part, if we just say 8, 9, 10, 11, 12%, somewhere in there, then if you just look at the timeline, in 30 years, that $100,000 initial amount, I don't know if you've ever done it before, but it turns into $1 million. It's basically that. It's pretty neat after 30. And so the reason that the dynasty trusts need to, and in my advice should, avoid and sort of skip the estate taxes at each generation is because they are going to end up paying estate taxes, most likely. And if you don't exempt that 50% tax rate, that would suck, right? You leave it for your kids, it grows, if you put in $500,000 there at the beginning, it's going to become $5 million, right? So that's what I mean. If it grows over that kind of scale over that time period, then you don't want it to be just chopped in half right when they die. So you create some estate tax exemption planning inside of those dynasty trusts. And then generally speaking, they are set to go on essentially forever. That's really what they're intended to do, is go on forever, because you just like, you know what, I don't care if I leave just drop a bunch of money in my kids' laps. They're fine. They're all working. They're independent. You know what would be more cool is if I turn my family into its own bank for my grandkids. Wouldn't that be cool? So, there's about 30 years between each generation. And so what if you say, hey, on my death, I'm going to plop $500,000 into a dynasty trust. We're going to call it the Sirvent Bank Trust. And then nobody will touch it for 30 years. And let it grow. Let it become $5 million. And then guess what? The grandkids never have to go beg for a mortgage. Never have to go through an insane underwriting process to buy a car. They don't have to go borrow student loans. They don't, you can literally become the bank of you. That'd be pretty cool. And we can set those up because you're going to pay a little bit of interest. You're going to do, we're going to make you responsible, and you're going to have to operate this like it's a real loan and that kind of stuff. But they never have to go beg at a stupid bank. They can just go to the family bank. And guess what? As they're paying it back, they're funding future generations. I just love the concept. All right, so that's dynasty trust. Spousal trust. We deal with a lot of clients who are in second, third, fourth. We had one gal who was on her 7th marriage. And if that's the case, you want your spouse, you may protect them and leave them some finances if you go first, or you may even give them right now, but you can give it to them in an asset protected way. Let them have it, let them enjoy it, let them use it and provide financial security. But holy cow, again, if they get remarried and there's a divorce, if there's a car accident, if there's a giant long-term care event, if there's a financial meltdown, all of these things can financially devastate them. Might as well give it to them in an asset-protected spousal trust. We hit on charitable real quick. Charitable trusts are pretty neat. You can fund these now while you're alive. You can fund them on your death as a legacy. But because they're charitable, you can get some really cool tax benefits out of it. We have a couple clients right now that are thinking of selling some property that they bought long time ago, and it's a business property and it's rented out, leased out, and if they just sell it out on the open market, they're going to get a really good return because they've been holding on to it for a long time. But there's about $1 million of capital gain in there. Well, geez, capital gains tax, either 15 or 20%. That's $100 plus maybe $200,000 of tax. Ouch. Well, with the right charitable trust, you can avoid that 100%, and then still get the money to support you the rest of your life. I like the sound of that. So there are some really neat charitable trusts that not only are you going to bless some charity in a massive way, and it's a charity that you pick, which is even better, but you also still can get some massive tax benefits out of it that give you more financial security in your life. Beneficiary trusts are something we do every day. We very commonly will only leave inheritances, no matter what the dollar amount is, to your beneficiaries in a way that they can't lose it to creditors, in an asset-protected trust, so that they can use it as an inheritance how you intended. But if they were in a car accident, they were getting a divorce, they can't lose it. And that gives them the ability to use it, enjoy it, but not lose it if they don't use it. Life insurance trusts. Not as common now as they used to be, but still useful if you have life insurance with cash value. So that would be a universal, whole life, some kind of cash value life insurance policy, and you just want to protect those assets again. There's some cash value, which you can get to now, but then there's the death benefit, which is going to go to your beneficiaries. Both of those are assets that can be protected, and a life insurance trust can do that really well. Now, grantor trusts are sometimes part of one of these others. Sometimes it's a attribute of one of the other trusts, but generally speaking, what that means is you're setting it up, but this is kind of a little bit of an advanced piece of these strategies, but let me explain it. It's where you set it up, you put the money in there, you don't get any benefit from it. You said, I don't need it, it's for the next generation, it's for whoever. But guess what? You get taxed on it. So if it's earning income, if it's earning interest, if it's whatever, capital gains and stuff, that tax bill on an annual basis comes back to you. Why in the heck would you do that? Well, for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's a lower tax rate. Okay, if it comes back to you, trusts pay higher tax rates, or I should say these types of trusts do. So it comes back to you, but then guess what? There's a strategy that will let you pay the tax bill, and you then are giving that next generation, essentially you're saying, look guys, I'll take care of the tax bill. I just want you guys to be blessed by this, and here it is. So they aren't cannibalizing their investment, the gift you've given them, by having to pay the taxes. So yeah, that's not too fun for you, but maybe that's okay. That works in your financial situation. And so that's what a grantor trust is. And those are, defective, lifetime, retirement. I'm gonna run out of time here. Let's dig on. The second layer of asset protection, I shouldn't say the second layer, one of the other layers of asset protection is business entities. Now, with business entities, it gets very, very different and very there's almost as many more options here, because we've got LLCs, limited partnerships, family limited partnerships, family limited liability companies. We've got C Corps, S Corps, and general partnerships. Okay, all of these things, which are traditionally used to operate and hold regular businesses, nowadays families are starting to use them to manage their wealth and to asset protect their wealth, right? Because that's one of the neat things about an LLC, about a C Corp, about an S Corp, is that if you manage it correctly, then the creditors can't get to it. Now, I'm going to teach you a massive, big concept here that I didn't learn for years after being a lawyer, because most lawyers didn't understand this. With asset protection in LLCs, or with companies, with businesses, there's two things you need to know of. Okay, I shouldn't say two things. There's a way that this works. Okay, there's inside out asset protection, and there's outside in asset protection. Now, so think of it this way, okay? If you have an LLC, and then here's you as an individual stick person, okay? Inside out and outside in. Asset protection flows in a direction. It always flows in one direction or the other. If you have a creditor outside here, okay, you're driving around, you get in a car accident, someone sues you, outside in asset protection says, can that outside creditor get into your LLC's assets? Okay, that's outside in. Inside out says, hey, my LLC is out there doing business and we did something bad, we got sued, now we have a massive liability. Can that creditor that is inside the LLC get out and come after your assets and money? Okay. So there's inside out, there's outside in. each situation has to get analyzed differently and individually because that is critical. So you want asset protection in both directions, okay? That's the key. Whenever you're using a business for this stuff, you have to have asset protection in both directions, because if you don't have it in both directions, you can't predict the future. So anyway, you put stuff in your LLCs, in your limited partnerships, in your family entities, and you get those assets protected from your personal liabilities. Then you look at your personal assets, the things that aren't in those, and you say, hey, are any of those at risk to my business's liabilities? Because it's got to go both ways, okay? That's the analysis and that's the protection, how it works with business entities. Totally going to run out of time here. Third major piece of asset protection is insurance. Third major thing is insurance. All kinds of different insurance out there. Oh my gosh, you can buy insurance for everything. All the major celebrities, they have insurance for their voices, for their faces, for their hands. I mean, they have insurance for everything nowadays. And that's good. That's fine. That's great. Whenever you are thinking asset protection and you're wondering, say we get to the end here and you're going, gosh, I need to do something about this. I don't know where I need to start. Then just pause, hang out, chill for just a second. Almost always the first place that we're going to point you to and we're going to ask you if you're covered is through insurance. We just are. I don't, I can't sell you car insurance, but I'm going to first bring up car insurance. Because if you don't have insurance, then you are now responsible for the first dollars of even defending yourself in a lawsuit, which those are the most painful dollars to spend. So it's just how insurance works, right? You have a deductible, you have to spend those first dollars, but then once you meet that, they pick it up. So your deductible might be $1,000, it might be $10,000, it might be $100, whatever. You spend that first dollar, they pick up the rest, up to your limits, okay? So with liability things, okay, you want your car insurance limits to be as high as you can. And your deductible, whatever you're comfortable with, okay? We're going to look at that. Your homeowner's insurance, same thing. You want your coverage to be as high as you want it to be. And your deductible as you know, what you're comfortable with. Almost every homeowner's insurance and auto insurance policy comes with a personal liability policy of some kind. And then you need to add on top of that, please go add on top of that an umbrella policy. That is the cheapest form of asset protection you have. Trust me, the Rockefellers, they've got insurance up the wazoo because they know that is the easiest way to get first dollars of coverage when something bad happens. Renter's insurance for either if you're a tenant or if you're a landlord, or if you have storage units, you need renter's insurance, life insurance, disability insurance, commercial insurance for your business. My law firm has so many different kinds of insurance, sometimes I forget, even what this bill is for. And thankfully we have, an office manager and a firm administrator that know. But your insurance, as painful as it can be, and I get it, trust me, I pay tons of insurance premiums. As painful as it can be to pay those premiums, you've got to up your insurance because so when the bad thing happens, who's going to pay the first dollars? Your insurance company. After your deductible, yes, but then the rest of defending you, they're going to go hire a lawyer. And yeah, it's your lawyer. Arizona law, it's 100%, it's your lawyer. They don't work for the insurance company. They get paid by the insurance company, but they are your lawyer. But trust me, the insurance company wants them to do a really good job because they don't want, they don't want to be paying out unnecessarily. So it's your lawyer. They will pay for it. So use that as your first line of defense. So yeah, that's where we always start with clients on an asset protection discussion is, what is your insurance profile look like? Is that as good as it can be? No, we fill in the holes. We make recommendations. If you need a referral, we can get you referred to somebody who can do the different pieces of the insurance puzzle for you. That's where you start. And then the fourth thing with all asset protection has to be family meetings. All right? Maybe this is not going to be earth-shattering for you, but oh boy. I I wish more families would take us up on this offer. We do family meetings with those who accept our offer of help through that, where we will sit down, we will help guide the frequency of it, we'll organize the topics in the agenda, we'll put together the format, and we help establish the hierarchy of decision making. Because you can't just wander into that. If you haven't done these regularly, there's a real serious risk that it will go poorly. It will be uncomfortable. It will be awkward. The conversation won't be fruitful. It won't be stimulative. It won't be healthy and deepen your relationships. You don't want to conduct one of these and then hurt the relationships. You want it to strengthen the relationships. Some families do it as simple as, you know what, we're getting together at the vacation home for dinner, and we just designate this one time a year to do that. The way the Rockefellers do it is interesting. I mean, they have this massive family reunion twice a year. They call the meeting to order. They have minutes. They have note takers. They have a very specific agenda that was already pre-built. They have voting. I mean, it's run by Robert's Rules of Order. I mean, they literally operate that meeting like it's a business. And the more moving pieces you have, the more formality you need. We can help craft that meeting for you if you want, and what specific topics that should be discussed. And then what's great about it is you decide to do this regularly, once a year at least, more frequently if it's needed, in order to just do an update. All right, so last year here's what happened, and this coming year here are some things we're anticipating. Oh my gosh, our firm deals with litigation. We get phone calls from family members who are upset, who are pissed off, who something didn't go as expected. And that is always why they're upset, is because something didn't go as expected. Mom and Dad told me this was how it was going to be, but now sister, brother, uncle is telling me this is how it's going to be. And it just ensues in litigation. I'm involved. We represent a guy. I mean, we have a lot of cases where we represent in probate and trust litigation right now, but one of them specifically where Dad said over and over, this is how it's going, this is how it's going, this is how it's going, to one of the children. And the other one, I don't know. He just had assumptions that it was going to go in another direction. And now, of course, everybody's lawyered up and everybody's fighting, and it's just a big, giant mess. And the lawyers are going to end up with tons of money. It's unnecessary. And I have a personal belief that unless you just don't care, and I don't believe that most people don't care, that it's more valuable, it's more important, it's healthier to deal with these things now, let it blow up in our faces so that we can recover from it now, and we can lay out the expectations now, and we're happy to help you navigate that. So those are the 4 layers of asset protection. We've got just a few minutes left because I know this can be like, oh my gosh, where the heck, there's just too much here. And I can't even give you everything you need to know in this setting in this amount of time to make complete, full decisions. I mean, I'm just talking with, I talk with families about all of these kinds of things and other things related to this stuff. And just one gal, she kind of hit the nail on the head for me about naming guardians for her little kids. And she says, she goes, her facial expression and all of her body posture just changes, right? You can tell she's getting very uncomfortable. And she goes, she kind of looks up at me, she goes, this is daunting. This is just daunting. And it just reminded me that not everybody talks about death all day long like me. And so I get it. And not everybody talks about these big, massive financial questions and big, complex issues every day either. Okay, so let's take a deep breath. We don't need to solve all of the problems in one sitting. And that is how I approach this, and that's how I recommend you approach this, especially if you're just starting out. If you're just starting out, there's no way you should try to gulp down an elephant in one bite. I like to start, and even honestly, long term, with 1-minute decisions. What decision can we make in 1 minute? I right now don't need to make decisions about everything, to infinity and beyond. I need to make the 1-minute decision that's right here in front of me. So here's how this works. For example, I'll give you guys an example. Quick little exercise. You're here joining me. I don't think we are. I can't say. I can say with certainty that there are some of you on this web class who the last time we spoke, your estate plans were out of date, and you knew that. So I'm not going to call you out by name. Don't worry. But you knew that they were out of date. You knew changes needed to be made, and there may be some other ones on some other of you on here who are going, yeah, I did that thing, 3 years ago, and I don't know. I did it 10 years ago, or I haven't done it, and you're just wondering, right? Okay, fine. If you happen to be here and you're like, no, everything's perfectly squared away. I have no questions about my financial security. I have no questions about asset protection. No questions about my estate. I am squared away. I just literally like Francisco's voice, and I wanted to hear you again today. Awesome. I love that you're here. Thank you for being here. I hope this is valuable for you. So, but the rest of you, let me give you an example of a 1-minute decision. If you knew, okay, if I had a crystal ball and you knew today was it, not just today, but it's 12:56. If you knew at 1 o'clock in 4 minutes, that was it. That massive heart attack was coming for you. If you knew that. And you could quickly shout through the web class over the phone, shoot me an email and say, Francisco, I don't have time to do all the formalities, but oh my gosh, here, put this person in charge of my estate and make sure that these people are taken care of after I go. If you had 4 minutes to make those two decisions, 4 minutes, and you had no more time in that, and I could say, I'll do it, and I know how to make it happen, and it'll be legal, it'll be valid, and I can make it. If you could do that, could you make a quick decision right now? Could you just say, oh crap, Francisco, do this, please? Well, not if you could. There's only 3 minutes left. Not if you could. Of course you could. You could make that decision, because you know what? Life is going to go past 3 minutes from now. It's going to go hours and days and months and years and decades. We've got more time in all likelihood. We don't know if we do, but more than likely we do. But if we didn't, I know you could make at least a very rough decision like that. That's a 1-minute decision. That's powerful, because you know what that lets you do? It lets you start quick and small, get some of the quick, little, easy decisions out of the way, so that something is happening and you're being protected at some basic fundamental level, and your family will say, oh, I'm so glad they did that. I'm so glad you took care of this. Or if the emergency happens to you, you can look back and go, oh, I'm so glad I did that. I'm so glad I at least got that in place. With that 1-minute decision behind you, you can build on top of that over time. It is totally wrong for anyone to tell you you've got to spend hours and days and months poring over all of these decisions and make them all at once. That's just the wrong way to do it. All right, with my couple minutes left, let me explain how we help people who need to do something, right? Some of you maybe are like, oh boy, Francisco, you scared me to death. That's not my intention. My intention was to help you walk away from this, like I said from the beginning, and know what you need to do. Help you on your own, right? Decide what you need to do. Some of you are sitting there thinking, forget it. I need to come in. I need to get this done and taken care of. Okay, fine. We're not the Rockefellers. We're a bunch of weirdos jumping around in parks. I get it, and that's cool. If that's you, you're going to fit right in. And so, cool. Then here's your next step. What we do is we do a lot of first the first part of the process is education, group style like this. We normally always have done them in person, live, in a room together. We're not doing those these days for obvious reasons. So, but we're still doing them. You're here. Thank you, right? I hope it was educational for you in order to help you make some, or at least one, your first 1-minute decision, which is, do I need to go talk to someone? If you do, and you feel like this works for you and you want to learn more, then your next step is a one-on-one meeting. We typically do those, not typically, we historically have done those in the office in person. We're now doing them over the phone, over a really simple video conferencing system with our client relationship manager to help you go over that first appointment, answer your personal, private, one-on-one questions, okay? And then if you think, yeah, this makes sense, let me make my 1-minute decision of I want to start this now, not every decision in the world, then at that second meeting you make the 1-minute decision of let's get started, and I will learn as I go. And then you start building. That's the third step. Now, just so you know, most of you hopefully already know this, our firm is the only firm in Arizona that does a no probate guarantee. We are the only firm that does it. It really bothers me that other firms out there don't do this. They know how to avoid probate, but they basically say if your estate falls apart and becomes a big giant nightmare and your family sues us because it is a big giant nightmare, you agree to indemnify us for that problem, which is backwards. Our firm, we flip that script. If you go into probate, we pay the probate fees. We have a written 10x no probate guarantee. You will get a copy of that at your first meeting if you want one. And all we do is packaged into flat fee packages. They go as, you can spend as much as you want to spend. It just depends on your family situation and what your level of wealth is. But it's always a flat fee. And they go all the way up to, I think the highest fee we've ever quoted was $250,000. It was a massive, massive estate. The guy was going to save $8 million in taxes. It was a no-brainer. And they come all the way down to as simple as $1,600 or $1,700 to start. We help a lot of just families who are, like I said, empty nesters, retirees, who are just chugging through life, really trying to take care of their families and leave an impact and make sure that their families knew you did everything you could to take care of them. Who should be a TrustCare member? You probably can tell I'm not your typical grumpy cat lawyer. I'm not. I don't have my video on today because of our, I'm hesitant with the internet connection that I've had lately here at home. So we're just doing video. Otherwise, you'd see me. I'm jumping around. I'm hopping around here at my desk at home. I'm not in a black suit and tie. You won't ever see me in a black suit and tie. I'm just not that kind of lawyer. I'm a lawyer who wants to do things the right way, make it simple for you so you can make sense of the chaos out there, because the last thing you want is somebody coming into your life to say they're helping you and just to make it more difficult. Folks who have real estate, even if you just have a home and some equity, that yes, you need to get this done. Our TrustCare membership program works for that. And as far as financial assets like checking and savings and brokerage and stocks and bonds and IRAs and mutual funds and life insurance, if you have all of those financial assets, if it's about $100,000 or more, then yeah, absolutely, we work great, and the program will serve you really, really well and protect your assets. Now, what you do at that discovery hour, just so you know, it is a private appointment. It's one-on-one. It's dedicated just for you. You do 3 things there. You're going to really dig in on the issues. Okay, what are your specific family's issues? Not like, well, a little bit of what are the relationships like, but we're not going to psychoanalyze. But just what are the issues, okay? Second, what are your goals? I don't want anyone in my firm taking any of my clients down a rabbit hole that you don't even care about. So we want to make sure up front we know what your goals are and get very clear about that, so that you know, third, what options are relevant for you, right? Do I need a foreign asset protection trust? Do I need a dynasty trust? Should I do a retirement trust? Should I do some charitable planning? Should I do some beneficiary trust? I mean, you got to begin the conversation with what options are relevant for me so that you can get clarity. so you can decide what's right for your family. The most important thing I want is for you to get clarity around this. Out of the discovery hour, you get the discovery hour value, $500. You get a personal information book organizer, $197. You get the Myths of Financial Security, $500. Successor Trustee Handbook, $197. And my first book, Pack Your Parachute, $25. $1,419 worth of value packed into that 1 hour. My two favorite things on that list are the Myths of Financial Security and the Personal Information Book Organizer. The organizer is huge. It will help you get so organized, and your family will be so grateful that you did that. It will save them so much time. We've had seen so many clients who've had to take care of their families' estates that weren't organized that they've had to quit their job and literally give up on $60,000, $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 a year of income in order to work full time at cleaning up the mess. So it's worth a couple $100. The Myth of Financial Security. That is, oh my gosh, if anybody has ever dealt with a financial advisor, you know the risks there of that conversation and the stereotypes that go into that. Financial advisors have so many conflicts of interest with what they recommend that they don't disclose. They're not even required to disclose. That's why they get to go on cruises and ships, and you don't know about the big quarterly bonuses if they sell enough stock in XYZ company. So this is going to disclose all of that to you. Well, wait a minute. How do we know if there's conflicts of interest in what they're recommending? You know, why is my advisor recommending this portfolio versus that portfolio? Well, you need to know why. Are they getting a big, giant, fat commission on the other one? So those are my two favorite things out of there. You get all of those just at the discovery hour, right? Whether you hire us or not, that's totally up to you. There's no pressure there. If it's right, and you get it done. If it's not, then fine. I hope you learned something and you get all this value and you can go interview someone else. We do charge for that. My staff time is very committed for that. We're just booked out, so we have to preserve those appointments. They're $125. It comes with 100%, money back guarantee. So if at the end of it you're like, that was not worth my time, I don't want, you guys were totally wasting my time, the office will refund it. No questions asked. I mean, we might ask, well, what can we do to make it better? But, I mean, seriously, there's no pressure at all. We want you to be invested for that time. My team is going to be invested for that time. Now, my team beat me up a lot, and so we're running this $75 deal right now for the discovery hour. So you get that. I absolutely guarantee that you will get the value out of it. If everything we talked about today, it feels like you're wondering, do I need to do something? If you're worried about your situation, I absolutely guarantee that value for you. And that's it. That's all. I ran over a little bit. All you need to do to schedule that is jump on this website. It's really easy. It'll direct you right to our online scheduler, and you just do it all right there online. I'm going to put it in the chat box so you can just click on it if you want. And you schedule online, you pay online, and if you do that before 8 p.m. tonight, that little special deal will be up there still, and you can attend within the next 2 weeks. Find the time slot. If for some reason we're too booked up and you don't see a time slot, will you please email team@KeystoneLawFirm.com. That is team@KeystoneLawFirm.com. Or you can definitely call the office and just say, hey, I want to get that deal that Francisco talked about, and they'll help you find a time. They may need to move some things around to get it scheduled. But if you have any questions, both of those, phone call or an email, we can try to get them answered. We have a lot of web classes. We still have the rest of June and July coming up with more web classes, and August, actually, what am I saying? So check back every single week at noon on Thursday. It's a new topic. And dig in, learn with us, come back. If you want to bring somebody to it, that's fine. It's right on Eventbrite. They can sign up, and they'll get the invitation just like you did. So thank you for coming. That is all I had for today. I wish you guys nothing but the best. Go out there, live your family's values, right? Let's live our family's values before we leave this world, because that's what we're called to do. Have a good day, guys.